So, good evening, everyone. Well, good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to ASRG Worlds. We have a really great presentation for you tonight. We have Vangelis Stykas from the Pen Test Partners. He's a security researcher with us. So, it's going to be a really interesting presentation about attacking APIs. So, really looking forward to this presentation. But before we go into the presentation, of course, we want to talk a little bit about ASRG, and we would like to also know where everybody is joining us from tonight. So, as we always do with all of our ASRG presentations, we would like to know where you guys are joining us from tonight, wherever. And you do this by going to pollev.com/ASRG, and you can just kind of log in there. This is completely anonymous, so we're not tracking you or doing any kind of crazy stuff behind the scenes. It's just for us to kind of see, who's joining from where, and actually where you might also be able to see some different people or see where different people are coming in from, which might be around you as well. So um, go ahead and go to pollev.com/ASRG. You don't need to log in or anything. It's just, you go there, you answer where you're calling in from, and just so we can start to see where people are participating. It looks like California, if I'm not mistaken. Um, The UK is also calling in. Germany. Um, uh-oh. See, this is where you test my countries as well. I think that's Czech Republic. Um, looks like also Brazil is online, so Recife, welcome. Let's see, where else are we at? India, welcome. Glad to have you guys. And while everybody's going to pollev.com/ASRG, you can also type in the chat window. We have live chat going on during the entire presentation. And if you do have questions during the presentation, go ahead, type them in the chat window. We will collect them and discuss the questions at the end together with the presenter. And feel free to comment in the chat window, say where you're coming from, how is things going, give your opinion, whatever you feel like, but of course we ask you to be respectful. So, okay, so if we go back to the poll EV results here, it looks like we have some interesting locations. So maybe North Carolina in the US. Goodness, I think that's almost Maine, but I can't really decipher what that is. But UK, Germany, glad. Thank you for joining, guys. Egypt, I assume that's Cairo. India, great. Really great to see so many people joining. Also, saying where you're joining from, that really kind of helps us see who's interested in what's going on there. Okay, actually, usually we have a few questions for you as kind of a introduction to the topic today. However, today we're going to keep it a little shorter. We're going to skip the questions and go directly into the presentation for ASRG. So let's just go ahead right into things here. I think most of you have joined an ASRG webinar before. It's probably not your first time. So you've probably seen this presentation already, but I'm just going to run through it quickly for the guys that are also new. Today we have a really cool presentation. It's called Hacking Cars from the Cloud, the API way of stealing cars. And Vangelis Stykas is with us tonight, or today. And he's a penetration test research. I'm sorry, he's a security researcher at Pentest Partners. And before we go into his presentation, I'd just like to introduce myself. So, my name is John Heldreth, and I am the founder of ASRG, or Automotive Security Research Group. Um, in my day job, I'm doing product security for Porsche Engineering, um, and that's kind of my background. I'd like to introduce also Sven Schran, who is the host for today and going to help out with the webinar. Sven?
Yes, hello everyone. So a little bit about my background for ASRG. I'm working now for nearly 1.5 years, and at the moment I'm the lead for our location in Stuttgart, where we have now nearly 1,000 members, which is really amazing. And in the professional life, I work for the German company Robot Bosch GmbH, and also like John in the area of product security.
Very good, Sven. Thank you very much. Um, as Sven said, he's leading the Stuttgart group. We have a really big community here in Germany. We're also, Sven and I are here in Stuttgart. So if you're in Stuttgart and you're not part of the ASRGS uh, organization, come join us. I'll let you know how to later. Oops. So, just quickly, what is ASRG? Um, ASRG is a nonprofit company focused on the advancement of the automotive security industry. This is a community to support you, to enable you to understand what automotive security is and how to ensure that everybody has the correct information to make sure that we are bringing secure automotive products to the market. And ASRG is trying to remove the boundaries that can occur in the automotive industry. This could be communication, borders, finding different ways to learn topics, finding different solutions, and so on to make good decisions. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same goals. We're trying to keep our customers, which are could be our families, our friends. We're trying to keep all of their data safe and secure, which can only be achieved together. We focus on three areas of development. This is knowledge, networking, and collaboration. Regarding knowledge, we try to ensure that people working on the security solutions in vehicles are making the best decisions, recommendations, and integrations. And to do this, you need to make sure that you have the right information. You need to be able to know where to find information. You need to be able to learn the new topics and make sure that your competencies are up to date with what's going on in the market. So ASRG is focused on building up knowledge. We're also there for networking. Networking, if you can't find the information, and even if you can find it, it might not be the most up-to-date information. So it's very important that everyone has a large network of professionals to ensure that they can rely on speaking with other people because they might have a different experience, different recommendations, different knowledge base. We can't know everything ourselves. However, as a community, we are stronger, and together we can support each other. The last point is collaboration. Since ASRG is a nonprofit corporation, we have an unbiased viewpoint of the market and can offer a space where members and sponsors can innovate outside of the companies. This innovation is organized into projects. Some examples of these projects include threat intelligence, member portals. We also do technical projects, which I won't go into too much detail here, but if you're interested and you want to get more involved here, please let us know. Um, you can send us an email at hello@asrg.io, or there's many other communication channels that I will show you here soon. So where is ASRG? Well, ASRG actually has 22 locations around the world, and we we have locations everywhere. The U.S., Detroit, Pittsburgh, Dayton, San Francisco, Los Angeles, South America, Recife, the UK, Germany, Romania, Egypt, Cairo, and Tokyo, Shanghai. I mean, we have so many locations here. We have almost over 4,000 members worldwide, and this is something if you're joining us from a location which actually does not have an ASRG close to you, please let us know. We're very open about opening up new ASRG locations so that you can discover the market that's around you. And you can share your experiences with other people, create networks, and so on. So please let us know if you'd like to discuss that. You can reach us by going through Twitter or LinkedIn. We have these two social media channels available. Um, so Twitter, we're posting all of our news and everything. LinkedIn as well. If you do in the notes of or the description of YouTube, we also have a Slack channel linked as well as a Telegram linked where we try to use these channels to communicate with the different members from across the entire world. So please participate, join the conversation, be a part of the change. We have some really great webinars coming up. Um, So today, or I'm sorry, next week, June 25th, we have Christina Lacati. She's with Cyber Risk GmbH. She's going to do a discussion about protecting automotive intellectual property from insider threats. A little bit different look at attacking companies. After her, we have on July 2nd, we have CAN bus versus Ethernet. So intrusion detection systems or intrusion protection systems with Gilad Bandel from Argalu. On July 9th, we have how hacker-powered security can take your organization to the next level. And John Bodorani is going to be speaking with us from HackerOne. Really interesting discussion as well. On July 16th, we have CAN bus, Attacks and Mitigations. Ken Tendall, he's just put out a new white paper about mitigating CAN attacks on the CAN buses. So this is going to be a really interesting discussion as well. July 23rd, relay attack applied to NFC virtual car keys. Enrico Pozzolone. And he's at the university level. I think they finished their doctorates, or this is part of the doctorate work. This is really important, of course, is the key to your car and using NFCs. So um, we have some really great presentations coming up. Check them out. If you'd like to present, or if you have an idea, um, contact us at cfp@asrg.io. We'd love to hear your ideas, or if you'd love to present, great. Let us know. Put you on the schedule. Great. So that's probably enough from me tonight. Um, I want to introduce Vangelis here in just 2 seconds. But before we do, as I said before, please, if you have questions during the presentation, just go ahead and write them in the live chat window. This way we can kind of keep the flow of the presentation, organize the questions, and then at the end we will discuss them. So, without further ado, Vangelis Stykas from Pentest Partners is going to be talking to us about attacking cars from the cloud, the API way of stealing cars. So, Vangelis, welcome to ASRG.
Hello, John. I'm really happy that I will be presenting on ASRG. And hello, everyone. This is my first webinar without audience, so it might feel a little strange. I'm really anxious and sorry for my anxiety and my pronunciation. My today's talk is attacking cars from the cloud, the API way of stealing cars. I am Vangelis Stykas. You can find me at the handle evstykas on Twitter. I am a senior penetration tester at Pentest Partners. My colleagues call me API Jesus because I attack APIs that control IoT, that control any IoT, varying from cars to boats to locks to trackers to pretty much everything else. And this today's presentation is a memorial to a really close friend, Leonidas, who passed out this March, that made me a really better researcher and a better person altogether. So, what is today's talk about? It's about the cloud and how different APIs interact with third-party devices that are connected to several IoT and IOV devices, and how we can trick them into doing things that you might have not thought of. Let's start with my previous work. This is dubbed as Trackmageddon. I did it with Mitch. I never met in person. He's in Germany too. His handle is there. You should follow him in Twitter. This was my stepping stone into pen testing. It was a really strange API issue that got us into pawning 20 million GPS tracking devices, which also included a lot of Chinesium car trackers. But this is not what what I'm going to show to you today. Today is mostly high-end and not Chinesium device. So today's talk is about two different. We are going to cover two different categories of devices. First one, car alarms, which are the traditional car alarms that cars protect from stealing. Second one is GPS trackers that are Thatcham accredited devices that help you recover stuff. For all the people that are not UK bound, I'm going to explain what is Thatcham and what they are doing. But first, what are the pros of attacking anything? In our case, cars, but cloud. It is a break once, play everywhere attack. So if you find something strange in the cloud, you can escalate it. It will affect all the devices, gateway, cloud. When it's successful, it's massive, way easier than hardware hacking. It's easily patchable. But usually, when partners we do hardware hacking, we wait months, if not years, for the vendor to update the issue. It's not the case in cloud. In cloud, usually once you have the vendor, can wait for patch to be applied in the next couple of weeks. Launch is obviously it's not as sexy as hardware hacking. As everyone wants hardware hacking, you really rarely get a CV for hardware device. Well, this whole presentation is going to feel like a trip back in time because I felt, as I was a developer in the early 2000s, I felt that was back in 2000 because there were IDORs everywhere. If you are not familiar with what an IDOR is, bear with me. Short for Insecure Direct Object Reference, and it's first and foremost most popular attack vector that we see in all cloud. It's usually used to access someone else's devices, in our case, cars in the air, or to do an account takeover, and the can lead to really big risk. The other strangely popular attack vector is forgotten test files, the gateway, or admin functionality that is not limited to admin. Look for the admin endpoint, access them, and have access. This means that you have admin functionality, even if you're just as a user. What are the results of successful? The most usual one is a attack vector to use the app someone else's device. Uh, More scary is the platform easy that this is quite easy. There were cases that single web request and isadmin equals one, we ended up being elevated from regular user platform admin. So Linux authentication, that authentication is not authorization for me or someone else to go after you. The first category that we are going to cover is the car alarm. Alarm was Pandora, which was advertised as unhackable. Uh, we were talking, I would give hackable unicorn sticker because unhackable is a unicorn. And they were also using a lot of marketing talk, got our attention, had to dig deeper their application. Their application, as you can see here, looks like a smart car application, giving the user functionality, is remote control of vehicle alarm function, identify the vehicle and geolocate in real time, lock the engine, the doors, stop the engine, a panic alarm with a pop trunk that could be done while the car was driving. Crazy. The API flow that we found digging in the Sputnik/workers point was accepting a JSON parameter, an email JSON parameter, JSON body. The XXS was the account ID. You can see in here the JSON body and the ID XXX ending integer that contains anyone's email, then then do a password reset, get that user account. Why this was possible? First of all, the endpoint was found in a JavaScript file. This was an admin account, admin endpoint that was part of a two-step process to upgrade the normal user to worker, to Sputnik worker. Step one was to change their personal email to a Pandora-owned email. Let's flow like the email. So first step, never go to the second step. So nobody was a lethal issue in there that it didn't require any special the trifecta of everything previous. So we spent money on car alarms. install it on a friend, on a colleague's car. And as you can see from this screen, we could see the name of the car. We could see where the car was, our UK office location back in Trinity Jackson. We could also lock, unlock car and stop. That thing affected 2 million, close to 2 million vehicles, allocate in real time. We could select high value vehicle brands, lock to order, and then just drive away. Then started reading the manual, and there were even more disturbing facts. Alarm came with a microphone. It was possibly for the EU e-call system. That microphone could be remotely turned on. So also could accept a lot of DTMF and SMS SMS commands. Now, these SMS commands coming with a default pin of 1234, but even if the user was careful enough to change it, we could change the pin back from the API. We could also retrieve the phone number, and then it was trivial to enable remote listen on close to 2 million devices, cars, which is scary. The second car alarm that we have hacked was Viper, also known as Clifford, and a vendor that I also found a public repository that was giving out all the customers' info back in 2017 before I started working on PTP or being a security researcher. And as you might have guessed, they also had an IDOR. This was even worse than Pandora because they were accepting blindly what the user was saying to them. So you could change anyone's password directly. As you can see on the top, that is my user ID. So incrementing integer again. So you could brute force and change anyone's ID. Why this was possible? It was because they had a logic flow when modifying the user. The user ID was passed from the user and was not checked. So this is one of the most classical horizontal privilege escalation issues that we see repeating in all IoT devices and gateways. That was not as bad in size. It was only 1 million vehicles. You could also geolocate in real time, select high value vehicle brands again, unlock, set the alarm, unset the alarm, and then drive away. So pretty scary stuff. The other issue that we currently see, it's a really common issue that we see in multiple IoT devices, is having a common gateway. As gateway, we usually say the API host that is handling all the requests. This has resulted in really strange and funny situations with while we were attacking a hot tub and we have formed the gateway and they were using the same gateway with medical devices and we were able to jump between them, but this is a story for another time because this is not the case in here. In our case, we found out that tracker that we are going to see later as a GPS tracker had the same company gateway collab as Viper. We had to go through this possible disclosure, and initially we thought that Viper was US bound and Pandora was some random Russian company, so they are going to answer, and that Viper was going to answer. So we had a lot of bumps initially, no response to emails, a lot of contacts. On Viper, my CEO of Pentest partner, Ken Monroe, on the head of Smart Alarms on LinkedIn. He made contact, it was well received, and the API was days. On Pandora, again, no response to emails. We weren't able to find any real contacts online. We had to phone the UK agent, which was really the importer of Pandora. He called us back in the weekend. He was slightly pissed that we were saying unhackable car alarm was hackable. But after that, he called back in Monday morning, I think, or it was Sunday evening on Ken, and he said that it was fixed. So all in all, Pandora fixed it really quick. Viber also fixed it really quick. We had some really initial bumps, but after that, it was fine. And we are going to, let's move to the second category, which is the trackers. So car theft trackers minimize the premium that someone has to pay for insurance in the UK. The procedure with, in order to do that, you have to set a geofence, and after you have set that geofence, if the car is outside of that geofence, you are getting an SMS, and if you respond that this is not you and this is not something that you expect and that the car is actually stolen, the GPS company notifies the police with the GPS location, and the police is recovering the vehicle. Some trackers are saying that they have a 90% recovery rate. I don't really know what are the actual percentage. In the UK, we have a body, Thatcham. It's carried out some really good work. It's crash testing vehicles. If they're being safe, they're saving lives, they're testing the physical security of the vehicles. So they're really good on what they're doing. The past year, they started looking at QLA evaluation, the known issue of the replay attack. And since this January, I think it was last January, so for a year or so, they're also trying to accredit tracking and immobilizer solutions. So they are also started doing vehicle security testing. They're giving security ratings on vehicles. Each one has a superior rating, as you can see. Ford Mondeo on our example has a poor rating. So they are getting into verifying pretty much everything. This is mandatory for so the trackers are mandatory for some vehicles. Some high-value vehicles have to have a mandatory tracker to be able to be insured. We would see that there are trackers that are being OEM applied from the same vendors, and they are trying to cut off vehicles. As I also said, tracker, also named LoJack, quote a 90% recovery rate and everything. Why did we do that? That's a pretty funny story, because Scott Helm, who is a really well-known security researcher, had a really great BMW that had a GPS tracker. So we had a bet if I could steal it in quotes or rig the car. Spoiler alert, I did both. So there's currently 7 accredited devices. It cost us £2,000 to fit 3 of them and have a very good sample of what we could do. The first one is Tracker or LoJack. Those two names are interchangeable. It's the best known brand. It has a really big brand name. Second one is Trackstar. It's approved for dealer fitting by several OEMs, and that was also the one that was installed on Scott Helm's BMW. So we had to also have that. And the third one is an accredited tracker, which is named SmartStart. And the mobile app code looked really odd. So I had to have it installed into someone else's car, not my car, so that I could see how bad it was. Too long didn't read. We could defeat on all three everything. We could render the trackers useless. The one allowed remote unauthenticated immobilization of any car. So you could literally break 30,000 vehicles without any kind of authentication. And while doing that, we showed that the accreditation process is not fit for purpose, I see. The first one is, as I said, LoadZap or tracker. We could see how this works. You set up a geofence around wherever you want to be, and when the car is outside of that geofence, you are getting an SMS, as you can see on the top right of the screen. If you send an SMS response of yes, you are saying that vehicle is safe, so don't inform the police. But if you say no, or if you don't say anything, the police will get a GPS location of your vehicle and we go after it. As you might suggest, we have an idle in there. It's the same thing that we had on Viper, because as I already said before, it's the same backend. So you could change the password, you could change pretty much everything on the update personal details. So you could take anyone's account. But this was not the only thing that you could do. As you can see here, you could also delete the theft alerts individually. So you didn't have to take over an account. You could just enumerate through the client alert ID and delete all the alerts. Or you could just delete any geofence via an API IDOR and render the whole gateway useless, as it wouldn't alert anyone. Why was this possible? Because this was a battery reader app. It had no authorization check anywhere in the code. It was blindly trusting all user supplied data, and it had IDORs pretty much on every HTTP parameter that I could see. Next is the vendor approved one, which was on Scott Helm stack car called Trackstar, and it's probably the best. It had probably the best security posture of all. We were only able to find, after trying a lot of things, one tiny IDOR on the subscriber ID when you were registering the device, which unfortunately for them, unfortunately for us, led into pawning the account, taking full control, delete alerts, and geofences. So pretty much what we could do on every other GPS. Why was this possible? Because, as I said, this was the best we have seen on their cloud implementation, but they had an issue when registering a device, so it allowed us to fake an account, take over the device, and then the account under our control. Unfortunately, one small crack means that you are broken in cloud security. So it's pretty tricky to have it as secure as possible. And we go to the last one, which is SmartStart, which is by far the worst that I have ever seen in that industry. So it had, of course, IDOS everywhere, but this was not the only thing that we found. Who really needs IDOS when you can find a backup file on the server that gives you the full source code of everything? I read the code. I was a PHP developer back in the day. When I see SQL requests sent to database with no escaping at all, that wakes up really bad memories from me. So nor an apostrophe or equals with one would probably get us in as admin. We didn't exploit it because we had to follow the Computer Misuse Act, but it was really, really, really bad. Even worse, an endpoint was publicly available that we let anyone with no authorization at all, no authentication at all, to immobilize a car that had that tracker fitted. As you can see, the customer number is, as you might have guessed, an incremental integer, so you could just run a for loop on that no authentication endpoint and break 25, I think it was 30,000 vehicles without being instantly immobilized, all of them. Why was this possible? Because it was a really bad app. There were no checks at multiple places that there should be. There were SQL injections everywhere. Killing the car's engine was hiding in a JavaScript file call. And that's scary. That's probably the most critical thing that I have found while looking at that industry. I was able to kill a car engine with no authentication at all. This is my friend Phil. He's running the car. I had immobilized it, and now it wouldn't start. The funny thing is that while doing that, I'm in Greece. He's in the UK, and his wife is waiting for him to go to a wedding. So this has probably cost him, fortunately. Closure. We initially thought, because Viper, we had already connection with Collab and Viper on when we did the car alarm disclosure, we thought that Viper would respond first, but we were wrong. Trackstar had no response to email. We had to resort to Twitter, made a comeback. Well, it was well received, and the API was fixed in half an hour, which is phenomenal. It's probably the best fix, the quickest fix that I have seen in API in my whole life. Second was LoJack Tracker. We tried Collab. They didn't reply at all. We tried the UK office. We had a reply. After they understood what the issue was and how they should fix it, it was fixed in 2 days time. SmartStart, again, Ken had to go to customer services. They thought that we were trying to sell something to them, so they were really dismissive. After reaching out social media, through social media on how we should do that disclosure, they engaged to a different pen test firm, and they fixed the whole thing in 48 hours. So in a way of how things went, I would say Trackstar was really good, LoJack was okay, and SmartStart was trying to. This is my CEO, the CEO of Pentest Partners, that asking on Twitter how we will disclose, and usually this is the last resort that we have before we actually do something. I don't know, disclose it as I did in Trackmageddon, and because we are being followed by a lot of security journalists, we end up getting the attention that we want. But this is not what any researcher wants. He just wants to send an email, report the vulnerability, and have that vulnerability fixed. The company should say thank you, and we should move on from there. And last part of the talk is the accreditation of Thatcham. So after we have pointed everything, we reached out to Thatcham and asked, what is your accreditation procedure? What exactly are you accrediting? Because you are putting a badge on things that you shouldn't, because they are really bad in cybersecurity. There, as we have proven, everything on the cloud was either really bad, just bad, or trying to get there. And they Thatcham response was that it says that it's functional. So the functionality requirements, it's that it works, has a battery backup, and it would survive an attack for 2 minutes. Which, yeah, it might be okay for a regular car alarm, but they said that they were doing some cyber accreditation, and they didn't do that at all. And we saw afterwards that they changed, and their certification process was 6 to 8 weeks, which is an okay time to pen test and verify everything. And it was reduced to 1 or 2 weeks. Frankly, is not a lot of time to properly test and verify everything. Thank you for watching this. You can find me on Twitter on the handle Stykas. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you should also look at the Pendesk Partner blogs. We regularly upload a lot of interesting security stuff. Some of them are cars, some of them are embedded, and a lot of them are API related.
Okay. Thank you, Vangelis, for this nice presentation about a different attack vector, but it's also coming more in focus in the automotive industry because of the connectivity that the cars go ahead. And of course, they are also connected with the smartphones and cloud services and everything what is available. Okay. Unfortunately, till now we don't receive really a question from the audience, but maybe let me put one question from my mind in your direction. If you look back in the years where you are just working on these issues, what was for you personally the most impressive vulnerability that you found out and could exploit?
It was by far, as I said in my talk, the Trackstar issue, because it allowed an unauthenticated user to remotely kill someone else's engine, and you could also enumerate it. So an unauthenticated person that just knew the URL could remotely kill 30,000 cars' engines. Really scary.
Okay. Thanks. Now we received some questions, so let me put the first one. Are these vulnerabilities usually due to laziness or lack of consideration for security?
I would say both. Usually it's due to time constraints for the developers and due to the time due to managers pushing that we need a lot of stuff being in the market as soon as possible. So they try to cut corners in the security, and we end up in that situation.
Okay, thanks. Then another question. Do you know about how these systems are connected to the vehicle electronics? For example, this topic with the immobilizer of the engine.
I know that there is a CAN connection, so some of them have a CAN connection, and we are doing some research the past year, actually, that we would want to have the PONADs down to sending CAN messages from cloud. So this is something that we are actively looking at. We know that it's CAN bus messages, but I'm not an expert in CAN bus. I'm an expert in APIs and web. So yeah, that's a work in progress with the CAN bus exploitation through third-party apps.
Okay, thanks. for this. Then maybe one question. What you presented was also several, would say, programming legs. So question is normally something like a coding style guide in the direction of security publicly available, so that normally a programmer of such API stuff can have a look on it? Should also do this?
Yes, OWSP has a pretty comprehensive API security list with common flows and how to avoid them. And most languages right now, .NET, Java, PHP, also depending on the framework that you are using, have a really good documentation on what to avoid and what to do to keep your security posture on the best level possible.
Okay. So let me take one last question. How do you observe security vulnerabilities changing over the past 25 months? And what trends you could find during such an observation?
I would guess that's a general question and not only limited to the automotive industry, because in general, I see that all the APIs that are on the higher shelf don't have any low-hanging fruits, but it seems that a lot of gateways are using low-chip Chinese products, which have a lot of issues and issues that we thought we have solved in the past 20 years, but it's zombie issues coming back. So IDOS was supposed to be fixed, security object references was supposed to be fixed since 2005, I think, but we keep seeing it.
Okay, thanks for this answer. There comes in one question I think maybe you could answer shortly, so that I would like to take it as the last one now. Do you know any tool that can help in scanning for these vulnerabilities for API security?
Now, usually the things that I presented are mostly logic flow. So no automated tool would help you. There are automated tools that could help you with scanning for SQL injections, like Burp, Akinetics, or a lot of other tools. But in order to find logic flows, you need to put the actual request to a proxy. I prefer Burp, but there are a lot of Fiddler and a lot of other proxies, and understand what the API is doing, and then try to trick it to do something else.
Okay, so thank you also for answering the questions. I would like to close the question and answer session now and give the word back to John.
All right. So, Vangelis, that was really interesting stuff. I do have one question myself, if that's okay. Could you tell us which tools you were using to figure out these issues? Were there specific API tools that help you identify these problems?
Yeah, in order to monitor the traffic, think I'm using Burp in which is spelled BURP. But any proxy that could man in the middle traffic is okay. But as I said, this is mostly logic flows, so it's mostly my experience in developing APIs that help me understand how they try to implement something and then try to find out how I could trick the API to do it something else.
Okay. No, thank you for answering. I mean, this stuff
Also, I also wanted to say to anyone who is listening that if they have any further questions, feel free to ask me in Twitter. I will do my best to answer any questions they have.
Great. Thank you so much, Vangelis. Do you have any other comments that you would like to say before we close out today's
I'm
presentation?
I'm really happy that I presented in ASRG, and thanks for that opportunity that you gave.
Yeah, Vangelis, of course. Anytime you have something so interesting to discuss, please bring it to us. We would love to have you back. Um, Thank you, Vangelis, from our side, from ASRG, from all the members as well. Everybody in the chat window is also saying thank you very much, and it's really interesting information. Um, so just everybody else, don't forget, next week we also have another webinar, another really interesting topic. It's a little bit in the direction of operation and so on. It's talking about intellectual property and how intellectual property in companies can also be attacked. And this is something we don't usually account for in our TERAs, our HERAs, our risk assessments and everything. Christina Lacati is going to be with us. She's going to discuss attacking intellectual property. So guys, join us next week. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vangelis. We'll see you soon. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
And it's closed.